ambition and salvation of the crazy politician.
The Kinks crafted a unique blend of raw energy, sharp wit, and innovative sound, creating timeless music that captured the spirit of rebellion and insights into everyday English life. Ray Davies wasn't afraid to speak his mind. In 1966, while the world celebrated the Beatles' iconic Revolver album, Ray called one of the songs a load of rubbish, and another sounded like a school music project. He gave his honest take on each song, taking shots at one of the most acclaimed records of all time while celebrating the album's overall achievements. George Harrison shot back at Ray. More on that shortly. During this time, singer David Garrick made a bold claim that Ray Davies was 2 years ahead of everyone else, including the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. The Beatles are often credited with bringing Indian influences into Western pop with songs like Norwegian Wood. However, Garrick challenges this notion, arguing that Ray Davies was the real innovator. And while Ray dominated the spotlight, his brother Dave Davies was becoming restless. Frustrated by the Kinks' slow pace and Ray's control, Dave was determined to step out and make his mark as a solo artist. Behind the music, tensions within the band often ran high, especially between Dave Davies and bassist Pete Quaife. Whether it was differences in musical direction or clashing personalities, their constant fighting became part of the Kinks' internal chaos. Pete recalled how the tension between him and Dave would often erupt into fights, even on stage, but these conflicts were part of the Kinks' explosive and rebellious energy. Throughout these ongoing disruptions, the Kinks continued to deliver to their fans delight. Ray Davies' songwriting evolved, and the Kinks became known for their clever, often satirical lyrics that commented on class, nostalgia, and English life. Albums like The Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society and Arthur, or The Decline and Fall of the British Empire, showcased a more introspective, thoughtful side, blending rock with folk, music hall, and Baroque pop influences. Overall, the Kinks' music stands out for its originality, balancing rebellious rock anthems with lyrical sophistication and a deep connection to everyday life and British identity.
How long have the group been together as the Kinks?
Oh, about 4 years we've been together, but we've only had the name Kinks for about 2.
What were you before that?
We were called all sorts of names. We had the Ravens and any name that came along. I left it to the promoter. If he wanted to call us, something, the thingamajigs, could call us anything he likes, as long as we got the booking.
And what settled on the Kinks? What made you settle on that name?
Because it was a short name and people could remember it.
And have you had many changes in the group in that time?
Not really. Our regular bass player's got a broken foot, and that's the only change we've got so far.
Surely it's not all that funny, is it?
Well, no. But he thinks it's quite funny. I don't.
You hopped into the studio yesterday to say hello.
No, he's quite well, but we've got a substitute in. We've had him for about 4 weeks because our bass player had a car crash.
Well, we all wish him well anyway.
Oh, he's alright.
Well, now you're the baby of the group, aren't you?
Yeah, all right, if you want to call me that.
Well, what about your songwriting? You write all of your own songs, don't you?
Yeah.
And what gives the inspiration for these?
Well, it's a difficult question, really. You just see anything, you could see a chair, you get inspiration.
And what gave you the inspiration for Sunday Afternoon?
Money, frankly.
Well, who are your own personal favourite pop stars at the minute?
The Hollies will probably be the next number one.
Why the Hollies?
Because I like them, they're very professional.
And who's yours?
I like Simon and Garfunkel. It's
Why?
good.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, they just seem to have something different to offer.
Drag songs.
Well, boys, thank you very much indeed for letting us have you today. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
In the article titled, "They All Want a Kinky Song" from the Disc and Music Echo issue in July 1966, Ray Davies discusses writing songs for other artists. The article discusses the increasing demand for Ray Davies' songwriting talents. Davies, now regularly receiving requests for fresh lyrics, is portrayed as becoming more selective and thoughtful about his output. For example, Judith Durham of The Seekers had asked for new lyrics to perform a song. Despite the rising popularity of his work, Davies remains somewhat aloof, recognizing that many people now clamour for songs that might not be worth their attention or effort. He comments on how other artists, such as Paul Simon and Bob Dylan, are similarly in demand, and how he's contemplating cutting down on his activities with the Kinks to focus more on writing. He reflects on the pressures of creating, noting that he doesn't want to just churn out material, which could lead to a creative breakdown. He emphasizes the importance of allowing songs to develop naturally and not overworking himself into neurosis. Davies also acknowledges a shift in his approach to writing and performance, becoming more confident in handling the success of the Kinks and less worried about constant output. He admits that it took longer than expected for the Kinks to achieve their current success, but now they are focused and working hard. The article ends with a reflection on how the Kinks' early work and records, like Dedicated Follower of Fashion and Sunny Afternoon, have become emblematic of their style. Davies humorously notes his reluctance to shave off his moustache, joking about how it leaves a white line around his mouth. In a September 1966 Disc article, titled "Kink Ray, the Best There Is," David Garrick praises Ray Davies, highlighting his songwriting prowess. After achieving success with the Rolling Stones' song Lady Jane, Garrick, who shares management with the Kinks, asked Davies to write a song for him. Though Davies agreed, he had been too busy with the Kinks' new record. Garrick laments that his next song, Mrs. Appleby, is American-penned but expresses hope that his following single will be by Ray. He emphasizes that Ray Davies is the most talented songwriter in the country, placing him above even the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Garrick notes that while Mick Jagger and Keith Richards are good writers, Lady Jane was a unique departure for them. He then praises the Beatles LP, calling Eleanor Rigby a great song, but criticizes the rest of their material as mediocre. He goes on to argue that Davies was ahead of everyone else by 2 years, and that people now copy his style, particularly noting how the Beatles adopted the Eastern musical influences that Davies had pioneered with See My Friend 2 years earlier. Garrick's future ambitions include recording more Davies songs and creating a pop opera. He closes with a reflection on how the pop scene has become hard work and remarks that he doesn't think he could go back to it, despite still being part of it. In the July 2nd, 1966 issue of Disc and Music Echo, Ray Davies offered a now famous review of the Beatles' album Revolver. His review was notable for being quite critical, particularly compared to the widespread praise the album has since received. Davies' commentary on individual tracks was mixed, with some scathing remarks. For instance, he called Yellow Submarine a load of rubbish and suggested that it was not meant to be taken seriously. He also took jabs at Eleanor Rigby, likening it to classical music written for school teachers, and remarked that Taxman sounded like a mix of Batman and The Who. However, he did appreciate some tracks like I'm Only Sleeping, calling it the best song on the album, and gave positive remarks on Here, There and Everywhere. Overall, while Davies acknowledged the technical skill in the recording, he felt that Revolver was not the Beatles' best work, favouring their earlier album Rubber Soul over this one. George Harrison responded in the following edition of Disc. Harrison states that he likes Yellow Submarine, and Eleanor Rigby will appeal to Ray Davies' types. Harrison goes on to say, he's entitled to his opinion, but I think if Ray Davies met us, he might change his tune. I think Ray Davies and the Beatles would have plenty in common. In February 1968, Dave Davies discusses making his own solo career with Disc. The article highlights Dave's growing desire to promote his solo career, with his brother Ray giving him his Key to Freedom as a birthday gesture. Ray acknowledges that if Dave wants to focus on being a solo singer more often, it's fine with the rest of the band. However, Dave clarifies that this does not imply the dissolution of the Kinks, nor is he permanently leaving the group. He notes that the Kinks are not the busiest band in the business, often performing only about 2 shows a week. This relatively slow pace with long intervals between singles leaves Dave with plenty of free time, which he intends to use to advance his solo career. The article reflects on the contrast between Ray, described as an absent-minded genius, and Dave, who prefers staying productive. While Ray can afford to take it easy thanks to the Kinks' established success, Dave feels a drive to work harder and take his solo career more seriously. Dave discusses his plans to begin touring in Europe with his own backing group, which consists of guitar, bass, and drums. He also reflects on the uncertainty of his future and acknowledges that pursuing his solo career feels like insurance against fading from the public eye. Dave mentions that though it adds extra work, the relatively relaxed output of the Kinks leaves him room to pursue these additional efforts.
Someone help me to break up this crowd. Let's all drink.
I go to a lot of pubs, to have a drink and to listen to music, and I find that the older people go there for the nostalgia of it all. They can hear the songs they heard when they were young. But also the younger people that go there, like the 20s and the under 20s, it's something new for them, and they're discovering it for the first time.
Ray Davies has earned widespread recognition and acclaim as one of the most talented and influential songwriters in rock history. Over the years, his public reception has evolved, with both critics and fans growing to appreciate his distinctive style and depth of storytelling. In the early years of the Kinks' career, Davies was celebrated for his raw, rebellious anthems like You Really Got Me and All Day and All of the Night. These tracks helped define the British invasion and cemented his reputation as a pioneering force in rock. However, despite the commercial success of these hits, his more introspective and satirical songwriting was somewhat underappreciated at the time. Albums like The Kinks of the Village Green Preservation Society in 1968 were not initially major commercial successes, but they slowly gained a cult following and became regarded as masterpieces of British rock. As the 1970s progressed, Davies' reputation as a storyteller began to solidify. His ability to write deeply personal, observational lyrics that captured the nuances of British society set him apart from other rock songwriters. Tracks like Lola in 1970 and Waterloo Sunset in 1967 gained critical and commercial success, and his knack for weaving stories about everyday people and working-class life became a defining feature of his songwriting. Though the Kinks never reached the commercial heights of the Beatles or the Rolling Stones during this period, Ray's craft gained more recognition among critics and fellow musicians. By the 1980s and 1990s, Ray Davies had become recognized as a songwriting genius. His ability to bridge the gap between British music hall traditions and modern rock made him a unique figure in music history. Albums that were once overlooked, like Village Green Preservation Society, were now hailed as seminal works, and Davies was often praised for being ahead of his time. Musicians such as Paul Weller, Damon Albarn, Blur, and Pete Townshend cited him as a major influence on their work, which led to increased recognition of his contributions to the broader music landscape. In more recent decades, Ray Davies has been celebrated as one of the greatest songwriters of all time. His legacy has been cemented through awards, honours, and tributes. He was knighted in 2017 for his services to music, and he continues to receive praise for his craftsmanship, with his lyrics often described as poetic, insightful, and deeply human. Retrospective reviews of the Kinks' discography have lauded Davies for his cultural commentary, witty social observations, and ability to capture universal emotions with elegance and nuance. Today, Ray Davies is revered not just as the frontman of the Kinks, but as one of the most distinctive voices in rock history, with a body of work that continues to inspire generations of songwriters and music lovers. The Kinks' music is timeless, their lyricism is masterful, and their influence on rock music is immeasurable.